whenever there is a, I think, uh, again the screen, the thing is got disabled. Okay, I'll start again. My presentation disappeared. Somebody disturbed it, but nevertheless, we will start again. We'll that portion which is yeah. I'll Somebody came in between, so therefore it got disturbed, and my presentation which I was showing that got disturbed. But nevertheless, we'll start that presently. We'll start again. Okay. So the various tasks of BSF and all I've spoken about, and what you have to understand is that the Central Armed Police Forces also serve in many important organizations where their skills can be made use of by that organization. For example, you have the external wing called the research and analysis wing, which is responsible for our external intelligence. Then you have a SPG, then you have a National Investigation Agency. Now you have the Intelligence Bureau, you have the CBI, you have the National Disaster Response Force, you have the Narcotics Control Board. So all this also has some people, some personnel from the Central Armed Police Forces who are on deputation there. The reason is that a person from CRPF has got a tremendous exposure. So whatever domain knowledge he has can be used either by the CBI or by the National Investigation Agency or by the Narcotics Control Board. So this is a good concept, and it definitely helps. So people go on deputation, people carry out attachment in various levels, formation, courses, etc. And a lot of training of the CAPF is done by the Indian Army. Of course, now the Central Armed Police Forces have also evolved their own training establishments over the period of time. For example, the Border Security Force have their training establishments at Tekkanpur. Then the CRPF also have the training establishments in many parts of the country. But a lot of training they do with the Indian Army. So their role, their performance, etc., assumes a great significance, especially as far as emergency is concerned, because immediately when the police fail, after the police failure, these are the people who come there. Now, very broadly, we will talk about the Border Security Force, BSF, Border Security Force. Basically, two or three important roles. One is, of course, guarding the Indo-Bangladesh border, but they have not done a very good job of it. Almost 5 to 6 crores Bangladeshis are there. And we will talk about the illegal migration of Bangladeshis in the second part of my presentation. Then secondly, they are also guarding the Indo-Pakistan border. Basically, broadly, the Indo-Pakistan border can be divided into two parts. One is called the LOC, line of control, which is there mostly in the state of J&K up to Jammu. And from Jammu downwards, in the other four border states like Punjab and Rajasthan and Gujarat, etc., you have what is called as the international border. The international border is guarded, or the policing is done by the Border Security Force. Now, now this border also, there are very big issues in terms of smuggling, in terms of narco-terrorism, etc. And newspaper reports are full with kind of narcotics that is being pumped into the state of Punjab by the Pakistan Army, Pakistan's armed forces, Pakistan's intelligence agencies, etc. Okay, so BSF has not been able to do a good job. Now we have placed some NSG people there to shoot the drones, which the BSF is not able to stop. So these issues are of great relevance that they need to improve their efficiency. As far as the strength is concerned, it is approximately 3 lakhs, and there are more than 190 battalions which are there, and it is one of the largest border guarding force, but its performance requires to be improved drastically. We will talk of their performance, especially with regard to the illegal migration in a short while from now. So this is so much for the Border Security Force very broadly. The people of BSF are recruited from all over. The officers, as I mentioned to you, are from two cadres. One is from the Border Security Force itself, And second, of course, are the IPS officers. And presently, Mr. Pankaj Singh is the DG Border Security Force. Okay. The next force that we are going to talk is the CISF. Now, CISF guards important installations of the country, especially the public sector undertakings, etc., like the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, and then major ports. We have 13 major ports in our country that are guarded by them. The airports are guarded by them, and some kind of VVIP things also they do. And what we have to understand is that while their strength is nearly 1.5 lakhs with about 130 battalions plus, the force is also used for carrying out anti-Naxal operations. I repeat, anti-Naxal operations or anti-Maoist operations in the central part of the country. Even the BSF is also used for anti-Naxal operations, and all these central armed police forces are also used for strengthening the local police. For example, we are going to have elections. We already have had elections, let's say in Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh and all. I'm sure you know about it from the media reports. Now, during the elections, to guard various booths, to strengthen the police, we have what is called as uh, the BSF Future. I think if I read the newspaper's report correctly, more than 150 companies of various central armed police forces have been sent to Gujarat as well as Himachal Pradesh. Now, next force that I'll talk about will be the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. I'm sure you can see my cursor moving. ITBP. ITBP is guarding to some extent the border on Indo-China border, and it has got almost a lakh of the troops is about 1 lakh. They have disaster management battalions, they have specialized battalions, etc. So ITBP is there also in the anti-Naxal operations in central part of India, and it also strengthens the police whenever required. Some time back, a report had come in media that the MHA was thinking that the Chinese border should completely be handed over to ITBP. This, if it happens, it will be a disaster of the highest order. ITBP can do a bit of policing, but it simply does not have the capability to guard the border as effectively as the Indian Army is doing. So therefore, this is a disaster. Also, it was a lot of times it was said that whichever force is deployed on the border, they should come under command the army. But because of the bureaucracy of the Ministry of Defense and our political leadership not able to understand the implications, ITBP still behaves on the Chinese border as if they are independent. So that definitely affects our India's national security, because they report through their channel right up to the Ministry of Home Affairs, and then it comes to the local army commander who's required to resolve the issues on the border with the Chinese. A wrong thing, but somehow because of the tough battle going on between the MHA and the MOD, ITBP, which is on the Chinese border, which should have been under the Indian Army, has not been put there up till now. Similarly, the Border Security Force, which is on the active border, especially of the LOC, presently it's under command the Indian Army, which is a good thing to happen. And similarly, the Assam Rifles, which is guarding the Indo-Myanmar border, is under the operational control of the Defense Ministry or the Indian Army. Now, next force that we're going to talk of is CRPF, Central Reserve Police Force. This is a force which is highly, this force is there all over India. Their strength is nearly 3.5 lakhs with 247 battalions. And they have 2-3 parts. One is the Rapid Action Force, which is basically for anti-riot and to control various kinds of riots that take place in our country. Then you have the Cobra battalions, which are there. And the Cobra battalions are basically used for anti-Naxal operations. The force is also deployed in Kashmir. In fact, they suffer maximum casualties as far as anti-terrorist operations are concerned. There are a lot of grenade attacks which keep on taking place on them. Also in the anti-Naxal operations, their strength is the largest and they suffer a lot of casualties. Their life is tough and a lot of force they want to go in for premature discharge. I mean, anybody and everybody who comes to CRPF does not want to stay there permanently, and he wants to he wants to go there. He wants to leave and join the civilian life again as early, because he finds that the life here is very, very tough. In fact, even when the recruitment of the Central Armed Police Forces is done, everybody wants to go to the soft Central Armed Police Forces like the CISF, which are there in the airport in the air-conditioned environment, but nobody wants to join the CRPF. The toughest life is of the CRPF. Then, of course, then is of the BSF, then the ITBP, the cushy life or the easy life is of the SSB, because they are on a border which is hardly anything is taking place, Bhutan border and of course the Nepal border. But also, the Assam Rifles life is also equally tough, because they are always located on the borders. They have nothing like a peace station tenure. So this is so much for the life of these people, as to how tough the life is. Now the next, but other than that, the next CAPF that I'll talk about will be the Sashastra Seema Bal, called as the SSB. SSB earlier used to be the stay behind parties, which was used against the Chinese post 1962 war. But now they've been told to guard since last few years. Now they have been told to guard the Nepal border and the Bhutan border. Almost 1 lakh of personnel are there, including some reserve battalions. Now SSB, while they are on the soft border, migration that is illegal smuggling that is taking place on the border with Nepal, they're not been able to stop. That is number one. Lot of human trafficking takes place there. Lot of smuggling takes place there. Fake Indian currency notes keep on coming from the Nepal border, not so much from the Bhutan border, but from the Nepal border. That they are not been able to stop. Performance, some of the battalions do go in anti-nexual operations, but performance overall requires drastic improvement. The next force that I'm going to talk about, the next force that I'm going to talk about is the National Security Guard. Now, as far as National Security Guard is concerned, it can be divided into 3 parts: the SAG, the SPG. SAG stands for Special Action Group. The NSG, which was formed post 1984 after Srimati Indira Gandhi was killed by her guard. This is actually a counter-terrorism unit. It is supposed to be under Ministry of Home Affairs, but the most important group, that is the Special Actions Group, basically is only from the Indian Army, the 51 and the 52 Special Actions Group, and they deal with two things: anti-hijacking operations and anti-terrorist operations. And you would remember the 26/11 attack. Out of the 10 terrorists, the 8 terrorists were killed in the hotels, and it was killed by the Special Action Group. And I must have mentioned to you that the 2 heroes there were Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan of 7 Bihar and Havaldar Gajendra Singh of the Para Commandos. The SAG has been doing a wonderful job. They have been used all over, and their performance has been excellent. The next group is called as the SRG, Special Rangers Group. Now, this basically consists of personnel from the Central Armed Police Forces, including Assam Rifles, and they basically help the SPG or the Special Action Group in carrying out anti-terrorist operations, but basically they are more of a reserve force. Now, as far as after the terror attacks increased in our country, one very important step was taken by the then Home Minister, Shri Chidambaram, and that was we established the NSG hub in all the metro cities, because it was felt that terror attacks were taking place in the metro cities. So we have now 26 special composite group in Mumbai, another one in Chennai, another one in Hyderabad, another one in Calcutta, and one in Gandhinagar. These are called as the regional hubs, and they are headed by Indian Army officers of the rank of a colonel. And luckily, after ever since they have come, there has been, in fact, after 2014, there has hardly been any terror attacks in our cities. So their capability has not been used much, but it acts like a deterrent. One of the topics that has been given to you is deterrent. I mean, doing deterrence is keeping a force deployed at some particular place. Just because of its presence, the terror activities do not take place. Also, ever since we started deploying the special action group people for anti-hijacking operations in the aircrafts, I'm sure you know that two commandos of the SAG used to be inside the aircraft. They were not in uniform, but they used to be in civil dress, and with the smaller weapons. They used to be present there to ensure that should any terrorist try to hijack, immediately they would be able to tackle them. Luckily, because of their presence, the complete routes have become safe, and there we haven't felt the need to use them anywhere. So again, this is a good example of how the deterrence takes place. The SAG has got a tremendous reputation, and they're done very, very well. And therefore, the terror attacks have in the metros have more or less stopped. Now, very briefly, NSG was deployed in the 1984 operations. In Operation was established after Operation Blue Star, which was actually an operation done by the Indian Army when they went into Golden Temple. Nearly 800 terrorists were killed in the Golden Temple, so they were used there. But afterwards, when again in 1986, again Golden Temple was occupied by the terrorists. That time, Indian Army was not used, but the NSG commandos of 51, 52 SAGs were used, and this operation was called Operation Black Thunder. And what they basically did was that they did not enter the temple. They surrounded it, kept their sharpshooters around the temple, and any terrorist who tried to come out was shot dead. So after a 2 days duration, these people realized that the terrorists realized that there was no escape, so they surrendered, and nearly 300 terrorists surrendered. Another operation done by this was again done by the army commandos. Then another operation done was in 1988 when the Black Hawk operation was done in the area of Mand. Those of you who know Mand or Punjab, this is a very marshy area. Terrorists had established their bases because it was a safe haven in which the Punjab police were not willing to go. This operation was successful, and Heliban operation. Again, in 1988, again Black Thunder 2 was done, in which 40 terrorists were killed and the remainder surrendered. So the NSG or the SAG has been very, very successful as far as anti-terrorist operations are concerned. I think somebody please mute your video. Yes, yeah. Other we get disturbed. Okay. So NSG has been very successful in various operations that they have done, and we need to compliment all those brave people and the brave commandos who have kept our country safe. Now, next we are going to talk about is the a few more operations. Operation Mousetrap, which they did in Punjab, in which again they eliminated a lot of terrorists. Again, an operation was done in Baroda, in which they killed terrorists. Another 150 commandos were deployed during the Ram Janam Bhoomi, but luckily they were not required to be used. And if you remember, Indian Airlines was hijacked in 1993. Somehow the NSG was not brought in time, and the people escaped. And you would remember that they ultimately landed up in Afghanistan, in Kabul, and we had to release the four very important terrorists, including Hafiz Saeed, who today heads a very important terrorist organization. So therefore, NSG has been very, very useful. Wherever there is intervention required to be done, they have done their job. In one case, the BSF families were taken hostage. Again, they did a good job. So there, Akshardham temple, they flew in, they killed the terrorists there in Gujarat, but of course they also lost two of them in the bargain. In fact, one of the commandos was in coma for nearly 18 months. I repeat, 18 months he was in coma. This brave soldier later died. And I have spoken about the air marshalling program that is sending two commandos inside the aircraft, etc. So that should any terrorist get inside, then immediately he can be neutralized. Like somebody comes in a civil dress and is not able to stop him early. So afterwards, you're able to neutralize him. 26/11 attack was a classic example as to how the operation should be done, in which spread over 3 days in Mumbai, the terrorists who were holed in the three hotels, they were eliminated, and the cost was Major Sandeep Krishnan and Havaldar Gajendra Singh. Of course, many of the commandos were hurt. 900 rooms were scanned, 8 terrorists were killed, and 600 hostages were rescued during this time. Another terror attack took place in 2016, in which some terrorists entered the Pathankot air station. Okay, there again NSG was used, but actually NSG was not required because NSG is basically required for a intervention operation, meaning if somebody is holed up in a building, somebody is holed up in a temple, or some rescue operations have to be done, they have to be used for that. But carrying out anti-terrorist operations in a larger area, the NSG simply does not have the strength to do it. Unfortunately, initially in the Pathankot operations in an air station, they tried to use the NSG because somehow the NSA wanted to take a credit for having done a good job, but it was of no use. Ultimately, the Indian Army was used there, a brigade strength was used, and the terrorists who had come inside, they were eliminated by the Indian Army. And also must talk about the DSC, the Defense Security Corps, which is basically some retired Faujis from the Indian Army who are there inside. Some of them are very, very old in age, but their bravery is yet not gone. So they are the ones who eliminated the remainder terrorists. Using NSG here was a wrong decision, which was taken by the NSA at that point of time. Now, the NSG is a very, very tough organization. The dropout, only volunteers are permitted to go there. 70 to 80% people are not able to make it. It requires a lot of endurance tests, martial arts, target shooting, obstacle terrain, cross-country run. It is to put them under tremendous conditions of stress and exhaustion. And those only who pass are given the advanced training of shooting, etc. So their training is basically, training includes learning to conduct urban terrorist operations, house intervention, counter UAV, counter drone operations, etc. But luckily, after 2016, no operations are required. Now, recently, when we found that the BSF was unable to stop the drones which were coming inside Punjab regularly, you would remember that almost 100 drones have come inside in last 1 year. So now the NSG sharpshooters have been deployed there so that they can shoot the drones who are there, okay, which come inside. Very briefly, I'll talk about they have a lot of specialized equipment, things like radars, things like high-tech pistols, high-tech weapons, high-tech. In fact, they have some radars which can see behind the wall also. And always an Air Force planes are kept standby for them, so that should any terror attack take place, immediately a plane is available to take them wherever it's required to be taken. So NSG are real heroes as far as anti-terrorist operations are concerned, and we need to compliment their good work that they are doing. Now, very briefly, I talk about the Assam Rifles, because what I do is Assam Rifles have a proper presentation. So I will give the presentation. But what I will do now is that after having given the organization and a brief overview of what they have done, I'll talk in detail about the and the illegal migration of Bangladeshis, which the BSF is supposed to stop, or the Coast Guard and the Navy is supposed to stop on the eastern coastline, and how have they failed? We'll talk about that, because at the end of the day, only having an organization is not adequate. Only giving them weapons and arms is not adequate. Whatever task they have been given, they should be able to perform it. So that is what some of them have not done adequately, and that is what they need to improve. Now, what I'll do is I'll stop this presentation, which I'm sharing with you now, and I'll open up another presentation in which I will cover I will cover the illegal Bangladeshi migration. Meanwhile, if there are any questions that you want to ask me, you can ask me that whatever I said up till now. Because if you take a Yeah, sorry. I think the connection got disturbed because of the internet. So I was saying that I am opening up my, again, somebody disabled my screen. Please able it, please. And make me a host again. I want to attach my second presentation, share it with you on the screen. Yeah, anybody? Yes. Okay, hopefully I'll be able to share the screen now. Yes, I'm able to share the screen now. And here is the demonstrated performance of how the BSF is performed, or how the Coast Guard is performed, or how the Navy is performed as far as their task is concerned. Now, this illegal Bangladeshi migration is actually a very big subject, and I am using it only to show you the demonstrated performance of these people as to how their performance has been over a period of time. So I will keep it brief, and I'll try and complete it today itself. And then maybe next time when we meet again, that is the time I will do a bit of coastal security, which will tell you as to how the Coast Guard has not been able to catch the Bangladeshis coming from the coastline, and similarly the Navy. So let us start with the illegal Bangladeshi migration. And if there are any questions that you want to ask me, put it on the chat box, or you can ask me when I finish the fourth portion. Now, illegal Bangladeshi migration, unfortunately, is a topic which our media does not talk about. It is a topic which our political class does not talk about. Generally, during my talk, I do not talk about any political parties, because national security is not related to a political party. The common minimum program for national security has to be there, which every political party has to accept. Unfortunately, what has happened is that call it for political correctness and all, illegal Bangladeshi migration, which is actually a cancer, has not been spoken about by anybody except two parties, and I'll name them. One is the BJP, and second, of course, is the Shiv Sena as far as Maharashtra is concerned. And as far as Assam or Northeast is concerned, there the regional parties do talk about illegal migration. In Assam, you had the Assam Gana Parishad, if one would remember their name, they also talk about it. And in fact, one would remember that it was the Assam Gana Parishad which led the agitation against the illegal Bangladeshi migration. I've been talking about it since last quite a few years, and you can see various articles that I have written, various Mala that has spoken, various seminars in which I have spoken. In fact, our media is so stupid that when Mrs. Hasina Wajid the president of Bangladesh, when she came to visit India about 6 months back, the media covered every issue except the issue of illegal Bangladeshi migration because they thought that she will not like it. Okay, so this is as far as my articles, my talk, and my this thing on this illegal Bangladeshi migration. Okay, now I will very briefly tell you. Don't look at the border too much, but look at the Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh today has a border with India, with the various states, with the various states of Northeast and also West Bengal, and that is from where the illegal migration is taking place. And down south, if you look, I'm sure you can see the sea, which is there, Bay of Bengal, which is there. You can't see it completely, but there migration is also taking place from the coastline of the Bangladeshis, of the Bangladesh. Okay, and not only that, people there's a Rakhine province of which is there in Myanmar. From here, these people come to Bangladesh. From there, they get into northeast, and from there they get into the various states of India. But even imagine this is the Rakhine. From Rakhine, they come to Bangladesh. From there, they come to a place like Calcutta. From there, they get into Mumbai, which is down south, and then they go down. But this is not, every year on an average, the police, the police of various states catch about nearly 4,000 to 5,000 illegal Bangladeshis. But the number is in excess of 5 to 6 crores. We need to catch more. Now, this is one of the Ashok Chakra winners of the Indian Army, Captain Navdeep Singh, who terrorists had infiltrated from the international border, which BSF was not guarding properly. They came on the Jammu railway station, and this is where Navdeep Singh was involved in carrying out anti-terrorist operations of the Maratha Light Infantry, a regiment to which I belong. The terrorists were killed, but Navdeep was martyred. He received Ashok Chakra for that particular year. And here is one Major Kunal Gosavi of Pandharpur of Maharashtra. He eliminated 2 terrorists in the state of J&K. He was martyred. He was awarded Sena Medal Gallantry for this. I definitely want to show you this Gallantry Award winners, because remember, they are the actual heroes who are there. Unfortunately, our media does not give adequate importance to the real life heroes who lay down their lives for the country, who get seriously injured while protecting the country. Now, this is the Indo-Bangladesh border. Now, very quickly have a look at it. This border is there with Mizoram. You can see Mizoram here. Then this border is there with Agartala. Then this border is there with Meghalaya. Then here the border is there with Assam. Then from here, such a huge length of border is there with West Bengal. Today, ever since 2016, the northeast states are doing a reasonable job. The police are doing a reasonable job, and the illegal migration there is somewhat reduced. But it is increased drastically in the state of West Bengal, where because of vote bank politics, the political parties there permit them to come inside. Of course, the mistake is of the political parties also the police of West Bengal, and also the border security force, which is guarding the borders. I'll talk about it more later. Now, this is the sea route. This area, or almost this area, which I'm showing here now, it's called as the Sundarban. It's a deltaic region of India and Bangladesh, and Sundarbans is there on both sides of the border. That is, it is there with us also, and this Sundarban, this part is with, of course, India. Now, people from here are migrating to Orissa coast, and if you read the Orissa newspapers and just put a word in the put a heading in the Google search, illegal migration in Orissa, you will get adequate information. Put a word illegal migration in West Bengal, you will get adequate information. Basically, the news which is covered by various medias of these states. But at a national level, somehow it is not covered adequately. It is Pakistan's intelligence agency ISI which started the proxy wars in India post 1972 war. And maybe I have mentioned about it that after 1972, when Pakistan realized that it could not take on India in a conventional war and it could not liberate Bangladesh by using its army, it started a proxy war. And after 1972, Pakistan started infiltrating terrorists and their supporters in various parts of the country, in various segments of our Indian society, in the media, in the bureaucracy, in the police also, in the political parties also. And a lot of violence started after 1980. And this operation of Pakistan is given two names: Operation Karakoram, K1, K2, and K3. K1 was Khalistani terrorism. I talk about it very briefly. K2 was Kashmir terrorism, and K3 was terrorism in the rest of the country. But over a period of time, especially since 2014, Pakistan has changed the nature of terrorism. Now, instead of only bleeding India by 1,000 cuts, they're bleeding India by 1,000 agitations and 1,000 NGOs. And Pakistan's strategy is very, very clear. Governments will come, governments will go, but ISI will never change its strategy of bleeding India by 1,000 cuts. So now we come to the main topic today, the illegal Bangladeshi migration. Actually, talking on internal security will take a lot of time, but since I have to cover the main topic, so therefore I've spoken about it very, very briefly. Now, this is a book that I have written on illegal Bangladeshi migration. And also when I came to your university, I presented this book to your library, to Dr. Shaileshji Devankar. So those of you who are interested can read the book. The book is in Marathi and also in Hindi. There are two books. Unfortunately, I have not written a book on illegal migration in English, but I do have a lot of videos in English on my YouTube channel. So those of you who are interested in the detailed study can have a look at it, because in a time frame of about next half an hour, I'll be able to cover only few important facets. I will not be able to cover anything. So for detailed thing, go to my YouTube or have a look at the book and then maybe study. Okay. This book was reviewed, was received very, very well in many newspapers. It was covered, etc. So now when we talk of the history of illegal migration, this is what it is. What is the background? In part, we will cover as to what are the frontages that we have with Northeast, then the ISI's role in carrying out demographic changes and proliferation of madrasas, etc. And most important for us is that ultimately, how do you counter it? Because the first four parts is basically an information that has been collected over a period of time. But most important is how do you counter the illegal Bangladeshi migration? So look at the India that existed before 1947, and after 1947, when when Pakistan was created and this part was called as East Pakistan, then the communication system of the Northeast India got completely changed, because all the routes used to pass via then East Pakistan or present Bangladesh. Now this was blocked. So now if you want to come to a place like, let's say, come to Agartala or come to Mizoram, then you have to start from here like this, and like this you have to come here. Okay, this is what you're supposed to do. Earlier you used to come like this, okay, or used to come like this through the Bangladesh. Now, since this was removed, so therefore now the distance has increased 7 times. But also let me tell you that this thing that we lost, now the inland water ways which are there, especially of the Ganges and the Brahmaputra, are now being reactivated by Government of India. And to that extent, we have to compliment Bangladesh, who is willing to share this with you, and it is willing to let Indian transportation system to use the waterways. Of course, we'll be paying certain taxes to them, but it will reduce the cost of transportation to Northeast India. That is one. And secondly, through Bangladesh, through Chittagong port of Bangladesh, which is somewhere here. Where is? Yeah, here it is. Sorry. We are also getting transferring stuff directly into the state of Mizoram and Agartala, that is Tripura. So therefore, we are using taking a help of Bangladesh to reduce our transportation cost. And here you can see let's say the Sundarbans very, very well, a completely marshy area, which is creating a problem now. Okay. Now, this is the state of Northeast for you. Very broadly, I'll very cover it very, very quickly. You have Arunachal Pradesh, which is up on the top. And Arunachal Pradesh is very, very important from the point of view of dealing with China. And the good part is that the Arunachal Pradesh is a very, let's say, patriotic state. And the greetings of Arunachal Pradesh, all of you will be surprised, is not good morning or good evening. They say Jai Hind. So Arunachal Pradesh is called her Jai Hind Pradesh. Hats off to the people of Arunachal Pradesh. And they are the ones who helped the Indian Army tremendously and very, very nationalist. And this is one place where no insurgencies ever taken place. Only certain two districts of Arunachal Pradesh, which actually are bordering Myanmar. This area is used by some of the insurgent groups or some of the smugglers to get into Myanmar. But there is no residual insurgency as far as Arunachal Pradesh is concerned. The second is Assam. Assam is one of the biggest states, and today Assam is progressing quite well. And Assam's chief minister has been the one who's been responsible for uniting the northeast states very, very well, because there were certain problems between the states, especially with regard to interstate boundaries, etc. But now Assam is able to sort out the boundaries with Meghalaya, with even Manipur, etc. Only the border with Mizoram, there's some dispute there, which I'm sure will be sorted out over a period of time. The next, as far as Assam is concerned, presently there is no insurgency there. The ULFA, which was earlier very active there in the 80s and 90s, have more or less been eliminated by the Indian Army. Now, of course, the Chinese are again trying to reactivate insurgency in the Northeast. In fact, complete Northeast, the insurgency back has been broken. And if you see the statistics of Northeast, the level of violence, earlier in the internal security, the violence used to take place at 4 places. Number 1 was Jammu and Kashmir. Number 2 was Northeast. Number 3 was Naxal affected areas. And number 4 was rest of India. Now what has happened is that, and there used to be a competition between the Northeast and the Naxals and the JNK as to where maximum violence will take place. Now, the Northeast violence has come down to near zero. In the year 2022, in which we are already on, I think, 14th of November or something, hardly 2 or 3 people have died in the insurgent violence. So therefore, tremendous prosperity is coming to the Northeast. And for that, you have to firstly compliment the Indian Army. And secondly, we have to compliment the people of Punjab, and also the political leadership, which has realized that violence does not help. And the insurgent group more or less are now in a state of ceasefire. As far as Nagaland is concerned, there are 2 groups, NSC and IM and NSC and K, who are there. Now they are with, they have what is called as the ceasefire agreement with the Indian Army. So they are not carrying out any violence. But talks are going on with these 2 insurgent groups since last 4 or 5 years. Unfortunately, the talks have got stuck up because these people, they want greater Nagaland, that is some part of Manipur and some part of Arunachal Pradesh, where the Nagas are residing. They want it to join Nagaland. Now, no government can let it happen, because if they do that, then you will open up a Pandora's box and there will be a problem. So Nagaland, maybe insurgency, we can talk some other time. As far as Manipur is concerned, it was one of the most violent states as far as insurgency was concerned. Today, Manipur is on a path of progress. And in fact, most of our sportsmen who have won medals in Asian Games, in many other games, are coming from Manipur, especially football, gymnastics, boxing. I'm sure all of you know names of Mary Kom. Everybody knows the name of Chanu, who won a gold medal, etc. Dinko Singh, the boxer. So Manipur is actually a sporting superpower as far as India is concerned. Mizoram is also on the path of progress. Mizo insurgency was the oldest insurgency in India. Their back has been broken now. and it is now the state is peaceful. But having said that, also remember that while these states are peaceful, the erstwhile insurgents who are there now have got involved into smuggling. The state of Meghalaya is completely peaceful. In fact, the complete Northeast today is high on the map of tourism. The infrastructure is improving there. And if I was to talk about the infrastructure there, Mr. Nitin Gadkari has done wonders there because all this area being mountainous, river, there are too many, quite a few rivers. So the problem was of movement for the local people there, movement for the Indian Army when it wanted to go to the Chinese border, etc. But now it is improved drastically. Maybe I'll talk about it some other time. Okay. Now, so therefore, lot of good things have happened as far as the illegal migration is concerned. But this is a this is our state of West Bengal, which is there, and this shares boundary of almost about 3,000 kilometers plus with Bangladesh. This is porous, and lot of illegal migration is taking place from there. Okay. Now look at the Northeast only from one point of view. The problem with the Northeast is that it has only 2% of border with the rest of India. This is basically the Siliguri corridor where the boundaries are there, and 98% with the other states. For example, with Bhutan 8%, with China you can see 23%, with Myanmar 55%, with Bangladesh 12%. But if you take this, another about 3,000 kilometers plus of borders is there. So therefore, Northeast always felt that uh, it was the Indians were not interested too much in them. And in fact, there's a book written by one very very knowledgeable author called Sanjay Hazarika on the Northeast. And it's a wonderful book which tells you the psychology of the Northeast people, which tells you about how insurgency was there. And this book was published about 30 years back, and it was a very gloomy picture as to what was happening in the Northeast. Sanjay Hazarika has published another book which was published about 2 years back, and then again he talks about the situation in the Northeast. And all of you who are interested in that must read this book. He says that the Northeast people have decided to stay with India. There are today more Northeast people in India, in the rest of India, than in the Northeast. I repeat, listen to my statement again, more Northeastern people in the rest of India than with the Northeast. Today, the hotel industry in Mumbai, Lonavala, Khandala is with all Northeast people. The sportsmen are all Northeast people. There are football clubs that are there. There are almost more than about 10, 11,000 Northeast people in Pune itself, where I stay. And a lot of organizations have done a good job of ensuring that Northeast people feel nice about India, and a lot of Northeast children have got for education in the rest of India. Such NGOs who have done a wonderful job also need to be complimented. So today, if one was to talk about the challenges in the Northeast, the China challenge, I'll talk some other time. Illegal migration is what I'm going to talk today, and insurgency is something which I'll talk later. But today, insurgency has been replaced by smuggling, by narcotics, by narco-terrorism. That is something we need to stop. Okay. Now, I have too many things to say. Time is too little. So therefore, I'll go on a fast forward mode. Now, look at this map carefully. The area which is shown to you in green, dark green and with lines green, that tells you as to what are the illegal migration that is taken place in India. As far as Assam is concerned, 35% of the Assamese population is the Bangladeshis. Remember the figures again. And these are the figures of 2010 census. After 2010, I'm sure all of you know that we are supposed to have census once in 10 years. It was supposed to be held in 2021, not held. But I am told now it is going to be held in 2023, and it is going to be a complete census which will be done online, and a lot of use of technology will be made. So we'll be able to get the exact figures. As far as West Bengal is concerned, nearly 30% of the population is Bangladeshi. And in my book, which I have written, I have said another 5 to 10 years, you should not be surprised if you have the chief minister of Bangladesh, who will be correction, chief minister of West Bengal, a Bangladeshi, or a chief minister of Assam being Bangladeshi. Now, this was based purely on statistical evidence, which is there that too much of a migration has taken place. I'm sure you know the Bangladeshis everybody has a voter's card, they vote, and their voting is almost 99%, while the rest of the Indians hardly vote. 50% of the Indians vote. They think it is to be. They say with they very proudly say that I have not voted. That's a very wrong thing. Indians must vote. All of you young people must vote for parties whomever you want, but do not be absent when the voting day is there. In fact, whenever voting is there, people from Pune and Mumbai rush towards hill stations, Lonavala, Khandala, etc., and enjoy rather than contributing to the democratic process in our country. So we also have to be blamed as far as the governance of the country is concerned. Now, I'll go very quickly to the remainder part of the presentation. The concept of Pakistan actually came somewhere in 1930s by one Mr. Rahmat Ali. And he then wrote a leaflet on now or never, live or perish, etc., etc. And then when he talked about Punjab, or Pakistan, he meant Punjab, Afghanistan, Kashmir, Sindh, Balochistan, etc. Okay. Now, and his famous sentence was now or never. And the concept of Pakistan, he came there. Okay. Now, I'll not get into too much of detail because this will take a lot of time, but you can quickly read the slides, which I'm sure you are all attentive and reading the slides. I'll not explain this because this is very, very easy to understand and purely short of time, will not be able to do it. So now a book was published called The Years of Destiny in 1932, where it talked about the Muslim state, because till 1930s, there was no concept of Pakistan and Hindustan or India. It was all a united India which was there, which was under the British domination. But 1932, the word started getting used. And again, it was in 1940s where Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who's called as the founder of Pakistan, started talking about it, that Muslims and Hindus should have two separate states. And it was in 1940 that they passed a resolution asking for partition of the country, which is called as the Lahore Resolution. Actually, each of the slides I can speak for 5 minutes, but no need to get into the details because this is a history. You only need to understand as to how the things have evolved. And then the mutual distrust started between Muslims and non-Muslims, and the partition of India, the concept started. Then firstly, there was a partition of initially Bengal, which was divided into East Bengal and West Bengal. Then the rest of the thing started, and then Pakistan came into being, and then many things started. So this is basically a very, very small history of how the concept of Pakistan came into play, how East Pakistan came into play. And the Britishers were very happy because they always followed a policy called, divide and rule, which is what they followed. So therefore, the partition of India took place, and all these things became later. Now, since the topic is illegal Bangladeshi migration, this illegal migration of Bangladeshis was spoken for the first time by Mr. C.S. Mullan, who was a census commissioner of Assam. And in 1930s, this is what he wrote, that the invasion of vast order of land Hadri Bengali immigrants, mostly Muslims from East Bengal, will alter permanently the whole future of Assam and destroy surely the complete Assam, more than the Burmese invaders. The whole infrastructure of Assam culture and civilization will be destroyed. And when we talked about Assam at that point of time, Assam that time meant the complete northeast, because there was no northeastern states at that point of time like Tripura and Meghalaya and all. If you have seen the map, all these states came somewhere in 1973 and after that. Okay, so this is what C.S. Mullen had predicted and how right he was. Okay, then there are many intellectuals and many books written on the subject which talked about as to how the composition of population started changing and how the Muslim League started infiltrating the Bangladeshis or then the Bengali Muslims into Assam, because it was decided that how would you partition the countries? Any place where the Hindus are in majority, they'll become a part of India or Hindustan, or any place where Muslims are in majority, they'll become a part of the Pakistan as it was envisaged then. So Sanaullah Khan, who was the governor of Bengal, he started infiltrating the Bangladeshis or the Bengali Muslims in the northeast India. And this was very well seen by many British rulers who were there at point of time. Lord Wavell, actually, he is a soldier. He is actually Field Marshal Wavell. He wrote a book called Viceroy's Journal, and he talked about the illegal Bangladeshi migration at that point of time. And he says that Muslim League is, instead of trying to grow more food, is basically sending the Bengali Muslim there so that the Northeast completely comes to them. Then there's another book that was written by Mujibur Rahman, a book that was written by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. There was a book which was written by a few more scholars, etc. And they also talked about it. In 1946, the Muslim League wanted Assam to be included as a part of Northeast. Now, this is what they wanted. And then how the formula evolved, I'll not get into group A, B, C, etc. But it was more or less sure that this, Northeast will become a part of India. Our leadership, political leadership of ours at that point of time, more or less agreed to let the Northeast go away to Pakistan. But there was a very patriotic chief minister of Assam at that point of time, called Mr. Gopinath Bordoloi, who was the chief minister of Assam, and he was a congressman. He said nothing doing. This will not go because the Hindus are in majority in the Northeast, and he was the one who stood against the leadership of Congress, the central leadership of Congress, which wanted the Northeast to be given to Pakistan. So listen this, that they had more or less accepted it, and this is all historically given there. And Gopinath Bordoloi was the hero. Gopinath Bordoloi in 2009 was awarded the Bharat Ratna, which was there, and today he is the creator of modern Northeast or modern Assam, which is there. Unfortunately, Bordoloi died very early, and he is actually the savior of Assam, and he is the one who saved Northeast from going to Punjab. Okay, now we'll give a very, very brief history of how the influx started. Look at the red thing which is there. 1946, Jinnah thought that Assam was in his pocket. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who is a father of Benazir Bhutto, who was killed in the bomb blast, who was the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and Bilawal Bhutto, who is the present Foreign Minister of Pakistan, who is the son of Benazir and a grandson of he's a grandson of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. In his book, The Myth of Independence, says that the problem between India and Pakistan is not only Kashmir, but it is also Assam. And this is what he had said. Now, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman has also written a book. The name of the book is there. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was the first ruler of independent Bangladesh. He is supposed to be a friend of India, and he says, sorry, Bangladeshis or the Bengali Muslims cannot live only in East Bengal or present Bangladesh, but they require whole of Northeast to be a viable state. And there were many intellectuals in Pakistan who have been advocating a theory called Lebensraum. See this word, and this is something which they talk about. That is basically living space. They say The theory is when there is no adequate living space available, people will always move from the dense areas to the areas which are less populated. Dense areas in this case was East Pakistan or the erstwhile Bangladesh, and the less populated area was basically the Northeast. Okay, now let's come down to the modern India after 47. The political parties in Northeast have been the most important political party in the Northeast initially was only the Congress. They encouraged illegal migration, and Devkan Barua, who was a chief minister of Assam and also a resident of Congress, in his he is known for two famous statements. He said that India is India and India is India. That was basically after the 71 war, which is okay. But he's talked about that with allies and coolies, we can win Northeast elections perpetually. Basically, which means with illegal migration, with vote bank politics, there is no need of any governance required. They will vote for you en bloc and you will win. So Sheikh Mujibur Rahman talked about it, that they want land for expansion, they want natural resources from Assam, etc. Then Zulfikar Ali Bhutto talked about it. Then Mr. B.K. Nehru, his book, he wrote a book called, I'm sure you can read the name here. This book is also was available earlier on the internet because he's passed away long time back. And he wrote a book called Nice Guys Finish Second. Nice guys finish second means good people always lose in life. He was a B.K. Nehru. Who was he? He was a governor of Assam for more than 10 years. And he was also a member of the Nehru family. In fact, he was a brother of Motilal Nehru, or he was the uncle of, let's say, Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the first prime minister of our country. Now, he wrote a book, Nice Guys Finish Second. And what is quoted now below is being taken from his book, Nice Guys Finish Second. And he says, three politicians from Assam guided the Congress policy in Assam. They were Devkan Barua, Moinul Haq Chowdhury, who was the private secretary to Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad, who later became a president. So basically what he says is, Devkan Barua is spoken about. Now, Moinul Haq Chowdhury, maybe I think we are going to run short of time. So maybe what I'll do is the various steps to be taken that will not be able to finish off in another 15 minutes or something. I'll cover it up. I'm going to meet you again on Thursday at 11 a.m. So maybe you can pass it on to your people that I'll be there, and it will be for both the years. So because I don't want to not cover some of the important issues because this actually the illegal migration is as a result of, if you have to look at it as a security problem, it is also a failure of the police. It is also a failure of the border guarding force, and it is also a failure of the people who guarded the border there, especially as far as Bangladesh border is concerned, the border security force. Right from the beginning, they have been guarding the border. So all the migration has taken place because of their inefficient way of guarding borders. Now coming back to these people, I speak very briefly about Moinul Haq Chowdhury. Now he was the private secretary to Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Now, when Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when Pakistan was became an independent state on 14th of August, Muhammad Ali Jinnah became the president. So this person, Moinul Haq Chowdhury, he should have gone to Pakistan because his boss was number one in Pakistan, but he did not do it. He stayed put in India, and he became a cabinet minister later. And he had written, he had promised to Muhammad Ali Jinnah that in the next 10 years, I will present the Northeast to you on a silver plate. I repeat the statement again. I will present the Northeast to you on a silver plate by carrying out illegal migration. And this is exactly what he did. And Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad, who kept on scaring the Congress leadership that if you start catching the Bangladeshis, if you are too tough on them, then the Muslims who are in Northeast will not vote for you. So therefore, the Congress leadership always got scared, and the illegal migration kept on taking place. However, also remember that there were also many congressmen who were patriotic. I mean, not to say that they were everybody was unpatriotic, and one name I already mentioned to you, Gopinath Bordoloi, Chief Minister of Assam, who saved the Northeast from going away to Pakistan or East Pakistan. There are also people like BP Chalia, Beul Prasad Chalia, who wanted to stop migration, but he was restrained. There was also another very patriotic congressman who was the president, who was the chief minister called Vishnu Kumar Medhi. He also was constrained. Then they were the Indian Army, Eastern Army commander, which looks after the Northeast. Lieutenant General Jamil Mahmood, he talked about the illegal migration, and he was the first one who made a report in writing about the illegal migration that is taking place in the Northeast and submitted it to the government of India via the Ministry of Defense. And he also told Hiteshwar Saikia, who was the chief minister, all about it. And he also said that the narrow corridor which links up Northeast with rest of India, called as the Siliguri corridor, is going to create a problem because 90% of the population there is of the Bangladeshis. Unfortunately, he died early in a helicopter crash at the Jamil Mahmood. Okay, now this is one person, a great man called Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha. He was a person who did a detailed study on illegal Bangladeshi migration. And everybody, and this was in the 90s, when he was the governor of Assam for 10 years, and he was the governor appointed by the central government there at that point of time. Now, also he was a very great man. He was a very respected soldier, and he was also a governor for 10 more years in Kashmir. So very respected person. But let me confine myself to only the illegal migration. He was the first one who wrote a very, very detailed report on illegal Bangladeshi migration. He made it in English. This report is available on the internet, and in my book also I have covered it as a chapter. And he also gave solutions, because giving a problem is easy, but giving a solution is the real challenge. So if you just put a word, report on illegal Bangladeshi migration by Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha, the report is available on the internet. Okay, so those of you who want to study it further as to what exactly he said, you can search it on the internet. But those of you who want to have a very short report on it, you do go on my YouTube, in which one of my episodes on illegal Bangladeshi migration is only there for Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha. So General S.K. Sinha gave a lot of recommendations which he gave as to how this migration should be stopped, and he pointed out as to what threat it has on national security. So he says, I made 15 recommendations: border fencing, multi-purpose identity card, updating a national register of national citizens, repealing IMDT Act, etc. This should be applied for complete Northeast. But he gave this report to the President of India, he gave it to the Prime Minister, he gave it to the Home Minister, he gave it to the Defense Minister, he gave it to the Defense Secretary, he gave it to the Home Secretary, he gave it to the Cabinet Secretary. The report was also published in the media, etc. But, and this is what he says, and his talks on the subject are available also on the internet. Unfortunately, General Sinha passed away, if I remember the dates correctly, about 3 years back because of old age. He was a great soldier who was there, and he contributed tremendously to making India secure. So it is not only, let's say, structures which are important to make countries secure, because the topic is defense structures, of which the structures are the armed forces, the structures are police forces, the structures are various organizations that are there, but also personalities. There are personalities which ensure that the country remains secure, and one such personality was Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha. Now, what I'll do is He talked about stateless citizens. He talked about voting rights. He's talked about many things. But since now I'm running short of time now, what I'll do is I'll stop here, and if we'll do a bit of interaction for next about 10 to 15 minutes, so that it doesn't only become a monologue. And whatever I could not cover now, when I meet next, that is a time we will talk about it. So now, if you have any questions on whatever I have said, we can talk of it. Any questions on whatever has happened up till now? Any questions? Anybody? Yeah, I can see in the chat box you have put some questions, and just a minute, I'll take this question from the chat box. Can you, I want to just close my presentation. I only hope I do not get disconnected. Yeah. Okay, there's a stop share is there. I'll stop my presentation. Okay. And now I'll see this thing. Okay. Now there are a few questions are there. First question is by Jayesh. He asked a question that, sir, do you think atmosphere in the CAPF, especially in the CRPF, BSF, is conducive enough for you to serve the forces for longer duration as compared to the defense forces, that is the Army, Navy, Air Force, etc.? It's a very practical question which Jayesh you have asked. In fact, today, many of you want to join the armed forces. Unfortunately, the vacancies in the armed forces are very, very little. Purely the vacancies for NDA are barely 350 per 6 months. That means about 700 per year. The defense, the vacancies for OTA and let's say Indian Military Academy, Dehradun are barely 200 per year. So which basically means very broadly 1,500 vacancies are there for youth to enter the armed forces at various levels, including the NDA, the Indian Military Academy, the OTA, etc. Unfortunately, in this country, people do not understand how to analyze various security structures, etc. The Indian Army strength was about 12.5 lakhs in 1972, and it is 12.5 lakhs today also. That means the strength of Indian Army is not increased at all, but it is only remained constant. The Central Armed Police Forces, of which was the talk today, the strength was barely about 6 lakhs in 1972. I repeat, 6 lakh, and this is now increased to 24 lakhs. Please listen to the figures again, 24 lakhs. And if I was to increase the police armed battalions in this, it is more than that. That means the strength has gone up about 4 times. But has the internal security situation improved? The short answer is no. What kind of a mess they have made up in the Bangladesh border? I've talked about it. What kind of a mess they are making up on the international border? I've spoken about it. But to come to your question, which is, should the youngsters join? My short answer is yes. There is nothing wrong with the structures. What is wrong is with the personalities. Okay, there are not adequate number of patriotic, let's say, people there, be it soldiers, be it JCOs, be it officers, etc. I personally feel the youth of today is quite patriotic, and you must join the CAPF, Central Armed Police Forces, to improve it qualitatively. And what is important from your perspective is that the number of vacancies from the CAPF are nearly 10 times more than that of the Indian Army. That means if you want a job, your chances of getting selected to the CAPF are much, much higher. And the CAPF vacancies can broadly be classified into 2 parts. One is the vacancies which we call it as the at the level of sub-inspectors, assistant sub-inspectors level, or in the Indian Army parlance, it is called as the GCOs. That vacancies are very, very huge. I mean, anybody who does not make it to the armed forces can very easily make it to the CAPF, because they have a exam where the competition is much tougher and they don't have a concept of services selection board. It is only an interview which takes place for the candidates, and it is much easier. And that interview also is barely for 10 minutes. On 10 minutes they decide as to how good or bad you are. So if you are good in talking English, if you are good in getting interviewed properly, if you are preparing yourself properly, it is much easier to pass. I recommend to you, those of you and everybody of you should join as a whatever is possible, as a sub-inspector, as an inspector. Those of you who think you are more capable can join CAPF as officers. And again, getting inside is is much easier. And also the number of vacancies is very small. And also, let me tell you, the number of vacancies at the level of constables or at the sepoys, if your friends are there in villages, etc., please tell them to join, because the number of vacancies of army is barely 50 to 55,000. Theirs exceed more than 1 lakh. So therefore, in terms of job and employment opportunities, it's a wonderful opportunity that you have. As far as their work culture is concerned, when good people go there, the work culture will improve, because there are always good people who are there. I must have mentioned the name of Mr. Prakash Singh, an IPS officer who went in for police reforms. Then there are people like Sadanand Date who are good people, and everywhere, every organization, there are good people. There should be no doubt. So any one of you must, if you cannot join the armed forces, please join the CAPF and improve the qualities, improve the qualitative aspects of the CAPF. Okay, that was my answer to what Jayesh has said. I hope I answered that question. Then second is Muralidharan has said, please show the previous slide. I'm told now we are running short of time now, but I'm told that this recording of this has been done and it has been put on the cloud. That's what Dr. Devaratkar told me. So please have a look at it now. I can't show it now. Maybe if I'd seen it at that point of time, maybe I would have. But again, some of it I'll be covering when I meet you on Thursday. Maybe that time you have a look at the recording first and maybe see the slides there. Okay. And also, let me also tell you, this is also on the YouTube. Exactly the same presentation is also on the YouTube, where you can see the slides more clearly. You can have a look at it there. Now, Muralidharan has asked, how can we deal with illegal migration of people of Bangladesh? Can we deport them? The simple solution is, when I was showing you some slides of General S.K. Sinha, the last two slides, he says, I gave 15 points as to how to stop this illegal Bangladeshi migration. Okay, just the last slide of mine, which I showed you, and then I said, now I'm running short of time, so therefore I'm going to continue next time. Actually, what happens is, the time frame that I've been given actually falls short, because there is a lot to say, and there is the periods given to me are just 2 per week. So if at all you want, then maybe you can recommend it to Shailesh that 1 hour extra period can be kept, so that we can get into the presentation in a more detailed manner. But I'm going to cover again this illegal Bangladeshi migration partly, and all my presentations which are on the YouTube talk about how to stop it, because that is most important. I mean, rest is a history. I picked up something from the book of Viceroy Journal by Lord Wavell or Field Marshal Wavell. I picked up something from the book of Mr. B.K. Nehru. I picked up something from the book of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. That was just a research. But the most important is, so what do you do about it? How to stop it? How to detect it? It is very easy to detect it. The police know it. Just for information, I do go and talk to police many times, and I do tell them as to how to detect them. Some of them do, some of them don't. But the fact is that I can take some credit for having improved the police psychology, for or rather improve their spirit of detecting the illegal Bangladeshis. It's very easy to detect them. But how you have it more into my YouTube. Then next question is by Mr. Muralidharan. Can we deport them? That's a very interesting question, and the answer is yes. The point at issue is, I mean, publicly, Mrs. Hasina, who's the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, who's a good friend of India, and I'm sure you know how Mrs. Hasina was saved by the Indian Army. Are you aware of this story as to how Indian Army saved her life? Anybody? Yes, somebody can say yes or no.
Sir, I remember having read a story, long back, how the raw or IB helped her, I guess.
No, it has got nothing to do with Raw and IB.
Oh,
I'll tell you the short story. In fact, Mrs. Hasina, when she came to India, she about 2 years back, she wanted to meet that army officer who saved her and Mujibur Rahman's family. Okay, the short story is like this: that Indian Army started its operation for Bangladesh, and it was moving towards this thing. It took about 14 days or 15 days to reach Dhaka. And it was at that point of time that some of the elements of the Indian Army reached Dhaka. And that time the Pakistani army realized that now they're going to fail. So they had more or less decided now to kill the family members of Mujibur Rahman, including Hasina, who was a young lady at that point of time. I think her age must have been 30 or something, And so they had decided to kill. So that is where one very brave Indian Army officer, I forget his name, but his name you can find it from the by using a Google search, the Indian Army officer who saved life of Mrs. Hasina. So this person with just 2-3 armed forces personnel, Indian Army personnel, entered Dhaka, went into the house and told the Pakistani army who was guarding them that you better hand over the members to us. Indian army is already in Dhaka. When it actually was not, I repeat the word, when it actually was not, it was a gutsy operation done by him, that he went into a house where the family members were under detention and told them Indian army is coming. They did come, but a few days later. Okay, so the Pakistani army got scared and they decided not to kill them. And this army officer was invited by Mrs. Hasina to Bangladesh during the Independence Day parade. And when she came again to Delhi, I think about 2 years back or 3 years back, she insisted on meeting him again. And in fact, she was the one, it was actually a private visit. She was the one who introduced this gentleman was Major, who later retired as a colonel to our present Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi. And she mentioned to him that he was the person who saved my life and who saved my family. This will also be available on the Google. Okay. Any other? I'll cover this thing in more detail, but if you are in a hurry, then kindly go on my YouTube. Yeah. Any other question?
So Deepali, can you please share the presentation, that slides we got?
Repeat. You want to do what?
Yes, if you can.
You want to share the presentation?
You can share the presentation. You can forward this presentation to us.
The presentation is 120 MB, Deepali. It cannot be forwarded, but what I can do to you is, this presentation is I can forward a PDF copy. Let me see. Let's see how, because you are permitted to forward about 25 MB. So maybe I'll do it. But otherwise, that book of mine, shortened version is on the YouTube. Okay, because
okay, sir.
You go on my YouTube. There are about 7-8 presentations on this, and exactly the same presentation, except is there. The only thing what happens is YouTube, since people cannot digest more than half an hour or 45 minutes, they are shortened presentations, but many aspects of it have been covered over a period of time. So you listen to it, you put it there. Otherwise, a larger part is there also in my book, which I presented to your department when I met Shailendra. And but maybe I'll try and see if I can make it into a PDF and send it to you. I'll try that. I'll forward it to your distinct Bhushan, and let me see if it's
okay, sir. Thank you.
Up to 25 MB, it can be done. But These things are all available on the YouTube. I mentioned to you, if you just go on my YouTube, there are about 700 videos which are there in English, Marathi, and Hindi. You just you see it on the don't see it on the mobile, see it on the laptop, because then you'll get a slide view. So there you'll find the title of the videos is there. So title, wherever there's the word illegal Bangladeshi migration, have a look at it. It's in English also, it's in Marathi also, it's in Hindi also. You'll get a much shortened version, which you'll find it easier to digest than a larger presentation. You know.
Sure, sir. Sure.
But
Thank you.
I'll still say I'm not very attached to my presentation. The aim is to educate people only. At the end of the day, I'll try and see if I can forward a PDF copy, because PDF maybe up to 25 MB you can do. I'll try and forward it to good old Dr. Bhushan, your Professor Bhushan. Okay. Yeah. Any other question? Okay. If there are no questions, then I'll stop here. I'll mention again that I'm meeting you on Thursday. I'll initially start off with the remainder part of the presentation, and then I'll cover about one paramilitary force called the Assam Rifle. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.